Hi friends. Please close your eyes. Online friends, please confirm that you can see me and hear me all right by typing yes. And friends, in the last lecture, thank you. In the last lecture, we had completed our unit on sociology of work and economic life. Before moving on with the day's agenda, I'd like to first discuss the sectional test that we had all taken, right? Let's see if this can be as brief as possible. Sectional test I am discussing. So 1A is pattern variables, which is straightforward, Parsons theory, no elaboration or discussion required. Second is class, status and party. Again, a direct question of Weber's theory of stratification. So I'm not discussing. 1C is the nuclear family is increasingly a thing of the past. Explain. I repeat, the nuclear family is increasingly a thing of the past. Full stop. Explain. What the question is expecting from you is, it's giving you a statement and saying explain. Matlab, there is no debate, there is no discussion which is required on this, but only an elaboration. So you have to consider it to be a given कि nuclear family is increasingly a thing of the past. So in this question, what is expected of you? You can talk about various various ways in which the nuclear family is becoming a thing of the past. In other words, other forms are replacing the nuclear family. When we are discussing this, we are discussing it primarily in the context of the Western society, where nuclear family is being replaced by other living arrangements, such as single parent families, such as same-sex couples, such as chosen families. If you recollect, have we discussed this thing called chosen families? Yeah, people are choosing, like if I'm more comfortable living with friends rather than kin, right? And they are more accepting of my alternate sexuality, etc. They are a chosen family for me. Single person households, all of these developments we can talk about. If you recollect statistics, how that conventional nuclear family form, I think only about 1/3 of all families in UK were of that type. Yeah, or near about. We can talk about that. You can also talk about various reasons why the nuclear family is becoming increasingly a thing of the past. So, one way to understand it is due to the emergence of what Giddens calls plastic sexuality, the separation of sex and reproduction due to contraceptive technology. Yes or no? So, it's not incumbent on man and wife anymore to stay together. Changing societal norms and attitudes, say, towards homosexuality, towards single parenthood. Yes or no? More or changes in the legal regime, and so on and so forth. Okay? So this is what the expectation of this question was. Next question. Critically examine Durkheim's theory of suicide. Again, pretty simple. You, in the introduction, begin by defining suicide according to Durkheim and mentioning the name of his book. And then you, very briefly, in the next para, explain his theory of suicide. Or if you find that difficult, you can even depict it diagrammatically. Right? 4 types: low integration, high integration, and etc. And then critically examine Durkheim's theory of suicide. So critical examination means both and appreciation and a criticism. Many of you had only mentioned criticism, which is not a full critical examination. So don't do that. Critical examination में उसकी तारीफ भी थोड़ी करनी है और बुराई भी करनी है. Not just criticism. तारीफ में क्या करेंगे? So this was, in his study of suicide, he demonstrates the application of the scientific method. So it's an empirical study and so on. Also, it was a pioneering effort. In the sense, for the first time, suicide, which was conventionally considered a psychological phenomena, was explained as a sociological one. ठीक है? तो इस तरह की कुछ तारीफ करके, then of course the standard criticisms, which we have also talked about. How does Weber's theory of bureaucracy analyze the potential for both efficiency and dehumanization within bureaucratic organizations? I repeat, how does Weber's theory of bureaucracy analyze the potential for both efficiency and dehumanization within bureaucratic organizations? Very direct and straightforward question. One thing which is important while writing answers is structure. The answer should be properly structured. In this question, for instance, one would expect that in the introduction you briefly define what bureaucracy is. It's a rationally organized, hierarchical, impersonal organization. Okay? And then you give subheading कि bureaucracy कहाँ गया? Potential for both efficiency and dehumanization within bureaucratic organizations. So you give a subheading. Efficiency in bureaucracy. Simply, efficiency in bureaucracy. And then you talk about why bureaucracy, what is Weber's analysis, why does he consider it to be so efficient? There is predictability. There are control mechanisms. Separation of personal and professional. All of that. You know? It is rationally designed. So, that makes it an extremely efficient kind of an organization. You have checks in this thing. Hierarchical, clearly demarcated areas. All of these contribute to making bureaucratic output very predictable, very, in least time and most cost-effective kind of a manner. Then you give a subheading. Kya? Bureaucracy resulting in dehumanization. And then you talk about the iron cage, right? How there is excessive rationalization, which is ultimately irrational because it kills creativity, individuality, and all of that, right? So how bureaucracy can be quite alienating. You mentioned that. Proper structuring, the content is not any great shakes. Proper structuring is the key to score better. In conclusion, one can mention, for instance, that while acknowledging the limitations of bureaucracy, Weber considered that because it is technically superior to any other form of organization, the spread of bureaucracy in modern society is inevitable. There is no other way of performing these complex large-scale tasks in an efficient manner. ठीक? 2A. It is impossible to get rid of poverty. Critically evaluate this statement. I repeat, it is impossible to get rid of poverty. Critically evaluate this statement. Again, critical evaluation. So what are they expecting? You to both argue in favor of it and against it. Both things are required. But how you structure is again important. So you begin by giving a rough and ready definition of poverty in the introduction, and a follow-up sentence in the introduction itself that numerous societies have for ages been attempting to get rid of poverty, but we don't seem to have any society which is free of it. Okay? What is your intuitive sense, friends? Are you logically more inclined to agree with the statement or disagree? The statement being it is impossible to get rid of poverty. Do you agree with it or disagree? Answer में हमें दोनों लिखना है, but what is your first this thing? Agree or disagree? Most of you agree or disagree? Agree? ठीक है. So you begin with agreement. Say why it is impossible to get rid of poverty. And then you give some arguments there. So the functional perspective. According to Herbert Gans, poverty performs some vital social functions. It gives people a sense of self-worth, provides a baseline for failure. It ensures that dirty menial tasks get done. So since poverty is useful or beneficial for all societies, it continues to exist everywhere. Another way to interpret it is from a Marxist perspective, that the presence of poverty serves the class interests of the bourgeois. It helps to keep wages low. It helps to reduce the bargaining power of the proletariat. So even if capitalist countries become very prosperous, they will not wipe out poverty entirely. Are you with me? You can also talk about or throw in statistics. You can talk about absolute and relative poverty. Are you with me? If you've read something in GS, for example, you may have already read or you will read about something called multidimensional poverty. You bring in that. You may have read Amartya Sen's views on poverty. Okay? Or you will. Bring in that. Feel free. And then the other dimension. Now, a poor way of structuring this answer would be, you say, it is impossible to get rid of poverty and all this. And then you say, it is possible to get rid of poverty. And you give counter arguments. It's not a good way. It's a very simplistic, childish type way, frankly, of structuring the answer. So don't do that. ठीक? Or even writing arguments for, arguments against. It's not the best way. So if earlier you have said, it is impossible to get rid of poverty, that has been your starting argument, then later on you can say that, however, with concerted efforts being made to reduce poverty, they have borne definitive results. And then you give some arguments which talk about reduction, not elimination, but reduction of poverty. So for example, laws like Manrega, provisioning for health and education, public health and education, social security measures, minimum income guarantee schemes have helped to poverty alleviation programs, have helped to mitigate the effect of poverty. You can here again throw in statistics in numerous societies, including India. So in India, poverty rates have come down substantially from X percentage to Y. Are you with me? Say, since, how you can talk about how economic growth and employment generation can help to tackle or reduce poverty. Yes or no? How programs like midday meal schemes can help to address the issue of poverty. Are you with me? Bring in all these dimensions. Think wide. Don't hesitate to bring in your learnings from GS, or ECO, or whatever, wherever you've read about poverty. Use that here. इस तरह से we can talk about it. कहाँ गया? 2B. What is deviance? Question mark. Is it correct to view homosexuality as a form of deviant behavior? I repeat the question 2B. What is deviance? Question mark. Is it correct to view homosexuality as a form of deviant behavior? First things first. In this answer, you can begin by defining deviance in the introduction. But the first part of the question should not remain confined to defining it only. ये नहीं कि इंट्रोडक्शन में बताया डिवियंस को क्या है, डिफाइन किया और उसके बाद स्ट्रेट अवे होमोसेक्सुअलिटी पे आ गए. Then you are not doing justice to the first part. So, one would expect, धन्यवाद, that you devote some greater space, words, elaboration to the first part, which is what is deviance. So you begin by defining it. Then in another para, you can talk about, for instance, you can talk about that deviance may include those actions which are positively sanctioned, those which are negatively sanctioned, and those which are ignored by the society. But that Cleanard fellow, he says that the term deviance should be reserved for those actions which are punished. Okay? You can talk about how the concept of deviance is culture specific. So what is considered as deviance in one society may not be regarded as such in another. What is considered as deviance in a society at a particular point of time may not be considered as such at some other point of time. Theek? Then you come to the second part, which is, I repeat, is it correct to view homosexuality as a form of deviant behavior? What is your intuitive answer to that? Is it correct to view homosexuality as a form of deviant behavior? Yes or no? Yes or no? When you say no like that, it's not a moral thing that you are asking you. आप ऐसे सजेस्ट कर रहे हो कि नहीं अच्छी बात नहीं है होमोस को डिविएंट बोलना. That's not what is being asked about. You have to analyze how academically the subject of homosexuality has been treated. How societies have considered, or how societal views regarding homosexuality have been shaped. So what you say is, give a subheading, homosexuality as a form of deviance. And then you say that in several societies and cultures, homosexuality is regarded as a form of deviant sexual behavior. This is due to a variety of reasons, such as religious views, social mores, legal provisions. Yes or no? You can talk about here, for example, that Michael Foucault, in The History of Sexuality, talks about how in the West, It was only over the past few centuries that the society started taking interest in the world of perversions. In the world of perversions. Earlier, any sex talk was confined to straight sex or heterosexual sex better. That too from the point of view of procreation or reproduction. Right? But over the past few centuries, Western societies started focusing also on the world of perversions. And that is when they medicalized and criminalized homosexuality. Right? You can talk about, kya naam hai tumhara? That queer theory. Queer theorists like throw in names. Judith Butler, Gail Rubin contend that in various societies and cultures, homosexuality is viewed as a form of deviance because of heteronormativity and homophobic attitudes. Explain what is heteronormativity. That is viewing heterosexuality as default, natural, normal, and so on. Right? You can talk about then how Ruth Vanita, Salim Kidwai have pointed out that in pre-colonial India, there was ample talk of literature regarding homosexuality. Yes or no? So it was during the colonial period when the Victorian morality was imposed in the form of Section 377 of the IPC that homosexuality came to be seen as deviant. Are you with me? In Indian society and culture. So you talk about all of that. You talk also about how in various societies, societal attitudes towards homosexuality are changing. Are changing. How they are changing? So, for instance, many societies have legalized homosexual activity, including India. Yes or no? Some societies have even accepted or legalized same-sex marriages. Yes or no? So, with legalization of homosexual intercourse, marriages, societal attitudes towards homosexuality are changing. The American Psychiatric Association, more recently the Indian Psychiatric Association, they have, earlier in America it was classified as a mental illness. But they did away with that in 1970s. In India, 4-5 years back, the Indian Psychiatric Association declared that homosexuality is not a mental illness, it's just another variant of human sexuality. ठीक है? तो ये सब हम बात कर सकते हैं. To C. Outline the role of Durkheim and Comte in founding the discipline of sociology. Pretty straightforward. Okay. So you, in the introduction, begin with talking about that both of them were amongst the founding fathers of the discipline of sociology. 1 second, please. Where was I? Role of Durkheim and Comte. So you can talk about how several French philosophers, including Comte and Durkheim, contributed immensely to the establishment of sociology as a distinct academic discipline in response to the changes in the West with the French Revolution and the Industrial Revolution. ठीक? कुछ हमने उनको जोड़ दिया. क्या जोड़ सकते थे? दोनों फ्रांस से थे. फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन हुआ था, है ना? इन दी, क्या नाम है तुम्हारा? 19th century. Both were 19th century scholars, right? Then you give a subheading. Comte's contributions. ठीक है? उसको बॉक्स में डाल दिया. And then you point out कि Comte is regarded as the founding father of modern sociology. He is credited with having coined the term sociology, the name of this new discipline. दूसरी बात, he laid down the foundations of positive philosophy. Yes or no? Arguing for the establishment, for the application of the scientific method to the study of society. तीसरी बात, he gave the discipline its subject matter in the sense he said it is the study of social statics and social dynamics. मतलब how there is order and stability in society and how changes are taking place in society. You can even talk about his law, how he envisaged or he contributed to the evolutionary view of social development, how society transforms from theological to metaphysical to positive stage. Then you give a subheading, role of Durkheim. तो इन्होंने क्या किया? He, for instance, gave the concept of social facts. So demarcating the distinctive subject matter of the new discipline. He established the first department of sociology in Europe. He started the first sociological journal in Europe. He, in his book Rules of Sociological Method, outlined the approach to the study of social facts. In his work on suicide, he demonstrated the application of the scientific method to study a social phenomena. He, of course, made immense contributions to the functional theory of sociology. Functionalism की foundation इन्होंने रखी. He made seminal contribution to the sociology of religion, to the sociology of work, theory of division of labor. ठीक, इस तरह से कुछ करके. अगला सवाल कहां गया? 3A. Compare Marx and Durkheim with reference to the framework of division of labor. I repeat, compare Marx and Durkheim with reference to the framework of division of labor. So here again, you can talk about how Marx and Durkheim both were keenly interested in analyzing the changing nature of work with the emergence of industrial capitalism. But they interpreted the developments from very different perspectives. So, for Durkheim, what caused the emergence of this very complex form of division of labor? क्यों? Due to increase in volume and material density. So, to manage the level of competition in society, yes or no? The number of occupations multiplies. For Marx, this division of labor is imposed on the workers so that the bourgeois can extract the surplus which is generated by them. Durkheim's analysis of division of labor is largely from a functional lens, while Marx's analysis is from a conflict perspective. So, while Durkheim considers division of labor resulting in कौन सी? Organic solidarity. Yes or no? For Marx, it is contributing to alienation. Yes, and eventually class struggle. समझ रहे हैं आप? डॉर्कहाइम के हिसाब से डिविजन ऑफ लेबर से कॉम्प्लीमेंटैरिटी होती है, इंटरडिपेंडेंस होती है. सोसाइटी में इंटीग्रेशन इज furthered. मार्क्स के हिसाब से इससे अंटैगनिज्म्स होते हैं. डिपेंडेंसी भी होती है, बट अंटैगनिज्म भी होते हैं. And it results in the exploitation of man by fellow man. Durkheim also acknowledged the negative fallouts of this division of labor. Kya? He talked about various pathological forms of division of labor. Yes or no? So he was not unmindful of the negative, this thing. Marx, of course, was far more concerned about the negative consequences of division of labor on the society as a whole and specifically on the working class. For Durkheim, what is the solution? What is the solution to these pathological forms of division of labor? The rise of contract, regulation by the state, voluntary type associations, all of that. While for Marx, it cannot be resolved within the framework of industrial capitalism. The only solution is the proletariat revolution and the establishment of a communist society where I will hunt in the morning. In other words, people will no more be trapped in narrow occupational roles. ठीक? इस तरह से हम इसको अप्रोच कर सकते हैं. Towards the end, you can also highlight some commonalities. What would that be? Both Marx and Durkheim acknowledged the importance of division of labor in society. Both considered its impact to be not just confined to the economy, the way classical economists like Adam Smith envisaged it, but they saw it as having a societal impact. The whole of the society. Both were studying या analyzing early industrial capitalism. Yes or no? तो इस तरह से कुछ हम बना सकते हैं. 3B, while science is expanding, so is religion. Full stop. Analyze the relationship between science and religion in light of this statement. I repeat. 3B, while science is expanding, so is religion. Full stop. Analyze the relationship between science and religion in light of this statement. Now, first and foremost, when you see such a question, घबराना नहीं है. A lot of students have that tendency कि ये, why some students do get flustered by such a question is because here you are expected to or required to draw knowledge from what you may have studied under different topics. So here you have to talk about a bit about religious revival, because it says while science is expanding, so is religion. So you have to talk about religion expanding its ambit or religious revival. And then it says analyze the relationship between science and religion in light of this statement. So what we had discussed under while comparing science and religion. So in this question, you can begin by stating in the introduction that how secularization theorists like Brian Wilson, how modernization theorists like Comte, Weber, consider that the expansion of science and technology has been one of the key reasons for the decline of religion in modern society. However, recent trends indicate that even as science and technology continue to flourish, religion is also becoming more and more important. What we call resacralization. You can then talk about in the subsequent para that how in fact science and technology are contributing to the expansion of religion. Whether it is televangelists propagating religion through the telemedium, through television, whether it is transportation technologies contributing to religious tourism, ya pilgrimage, or online congregations, online worship, thanks to digital platforms. Yes or no? So then you say that given this, or these aspects indicate that the relationship between religion and science is not so straightforward, but it is far more complex. And then you say that Ian Barber, in his book, When Science Meets Religion, suggests that the relationship between science and religion can be viewed in 4 ways. Incompatibility, या conflict, dialogue, interdependence, और integration. ठीक है? इस तरह से कुछ स्ट्रक्चर करना है. Is sociology a value-free science? Evaluate. Straightforward question, does not require elaboration. Only thing is, don't mention just one point of view. Evaluate लिखा है, so don't, ये नहीं कि सिर्फ positivist view बता दिया कि it is value-free. That will be incomplete. Mention various points of view. 4a. What is the Marxist analysis of the role of family and religion in capitalist societies? Question mark. Is it relevant in today's times? I repeat, what is the Marxist analysis of the role of family and religion in capitalist societies? Is it relevant in today's times? The first part is pretty straightforward. You can either address it together, role of, in a single heading, or you can divide it into 2. Role of family. Role of religion. And then, of course, you write only the Marxist perspective. So family is an ideological conditioning device, reproduction of labor power, women are takers of shit, all of that. Throw in names of scholars, feminist Marxists. Then, Marxist view of religion. Religion क्या है? Opium of the people, gives hopes of a better afterlife, and so on and so forth. ठीक है? Then the second part is it relevant in today's times? On all questions of relevance, friends, wherever they ask you ki relevant today or not, one dimension you have to highlight is why this question has come up in the first place. That is implicit. So why the question of relevance has come up? Simply because we are living in very different times. So you highlight that in your answer, Dhanyavad Bhaiya. How or what significant changes have taken place that has, necessitated or given rise to this question. So what changes have taken place which make us, discuss this thing? The fall of communism. Newer family forms coming up. Yes or no? Like same-sex couples, yeah, single-parent families, etc. Such trends. या secularization हुआ है. ठीक है? So since you have all these things, this question becomes pertinent. And then you say something. Whether a theory is still relevant or not, in general it may be preferable if you can point out how it is still relevant rather than rubbishing it. ठीक है? But whatever, you can logically justify that. So here you can say that despite these changes, the Marxist analysis of family and religion continues to hold merit or continues to be useful to explain their role in contemporary times. So for example, you may have single parent families, but it continues to play that role of an ideological conditioning device. The hold of religion in the minds of people may have reduced, but it continues to be a source of comfort hope for many or for the believers. समझ रहे हैं आप? So इस तरीके से आपको इसको अटेम्प्ट करना है. This was 4A. Another very important thing, you must read the instructions carefully and follow them. And if possible, time permitting, read them multiple times. So in this paper, for example, some students did not read the instructions and attempted wrongly. So question number 1 was compulsory. In section A, you had 1, 2, 3, and in section B, you had 4, 5. So from section A, you had to attempt, apart from question 1, another 1. Either 2 or 3. If you attempt 1, 2, and 3, you get 0 marks for even if you've written brilliant answers in the third one. Are you with me? Some students do what? कि 2 में से A, B कर दिया, 3 में से C कर दिया. तो वो 1 नहीं हो जाता है. These will be counted as 2 questions being attempted. Are you with me? तो पूरे questions कीजिए as per instructions कीजिए. 4B is, had there been no enlightenment, there would have been no sociology elaborate. It's a very straightforward question. नाक को यूं ना पकड़ के यूं पकड़ा है. कह क्या रहे हैं? मतलब what is it expecting? Elaborate. You underline the important role played by enlightenment in the emergence of sociology. You don't have to अटकलें नहीं लगानी है. ये नहीं सोचना है कि अगर enlightenment नहीं हुई होती क्या तो सोशियोलॉजी का जन्म हो पाता. That's not being asked or expected. ठीक है? You simply have to talk about how enlightenment played a very vital role in the emergence of sociology. भाई सारी चीजें, scientific method, rationality, political वो theories जो थी हॉब्स लॉक रूसो टाइप की, all of that. ठीक है? काउंटर एनलाइटनमेंट आइडियाज ने अपना रोल किया जो हमने पढ़ा है. स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड. क्वेश्चन 5A. Examine gender, ethnicity and race as major dimensions of social stratification. Straightforward question. You begin by defining what stratification is, and in that opening para, in the introductory para, also mention that these 3, namely gender, ethnicity and race, are important bases for the emergence of stratification systems. And then you can address them, give 3 distinct subheadings. Gender based stratification, racial stratification, ethnic stratification, and you talk a bit in each of them. ठीक? You can even in such answers bring in Indian dimension, bring in reports and data. So gender stratification में you quote the global gender gap report. दुनिया में हर जगह है. Are you with me? तो इस तरह से आपको attempt करना है. Next question. What is the spirit of capitalism according to Weber? Question mark. Why did it develop only in Western Europe? Question mark. I repeat. What is the spirit of capitalism according to Weber? Question mark. Why did it develop only in Western Europe? So pehla is, what is the spirit of capitalism? What is it? Pursuit of profit. But only this much will not suffice. It is one part of the question. So we need to do some more justice to it. तो और बोलो. Protestant ethic नहीं लिखना है while describing what is the spirit of capitalism. Please appreciate. Question क्या है? What is the spirit of capitalism according to Weber? So you have to explain what is that attitude towards work which is required for the development of capitalism. It is the pursuit of profit and relentless pursuit of profit, which is fine. Then, yes, you quote extensively from Franklin the way Weber did. You work hard. You work diligently. Thrift. Yes or no? Time is money. You do not sit idle. Are you with me? All of that. Bilkul, all of that. If somebody gives you credit, then you have to respect that. You have to pay back people on time. That kind of thing. That is the spirit of capitalism. And then the second part, which is, why did it develop only in Western Europe? Why? हाँ, दोनों चीजें चाहिए होती हैं. You require material conditions and you require a supporting belief system. The material conditions were present, and so was a supporting belief system in the form of the Protestant beliefs. And then you briefly talk about the various Protestant beliefs and how they contributed to the development of this capitalist spirit. Clear? ये है. So, that is that. In every question, you have to write a conclusion. In every one. Without fail. The question, it doesn't say you have to define pattern variables. It only says write a short note on the following pattern variables. So, there, or any such questions, one way of concluding is you give, you can talk about, give a criticism or two. Or you can talk about its contemporary relevance. Various ways. Or very cliched but straight, this thing is a very important contribution to the sociology of X. ठीक है? हाँ. That you will be told by the instructions. In actual paper, you don't have 15 markers. मेरे को 125 marks का बनाना था, इसलिए मैंने 15 marker डाला. You have 10 and 20 markers. In the instructions, in the actual paper, a word limit is specified for the 10 markers, not for the 20 markers. But then you derive from it. If you're writing a 10 marker in about 150 words, you would write about 300, 250 or 300, depending 3 या 4 pages हैं. 4 pages हैं तो 300 or so about words. 75 words per page मान के चल लो. ठीक है? Okay, her question is for the benefit of online students or those who could not hear, that if a question is 20 marker and has 2 parts, then do we consider that each part is for 10 marks? The answer is no, not necessarily. You can assume, say, a 40-60 or a 30, 1/3, 2/3 kind of a division also. Whatever appears natural. If you have a question like, what is deviance? Should homosexuality be considered as a form of deviant behavior? I would not consider them to be of equal weightage. Slightly less weightage for the first part, intuitively. I can't even explain or, verbalize why, but I hope you get it. वो लग नहीं रहा साफ बात कि वो उतने ही importance का है. ठीक? Yes. जाने दो. आगे. हाँ. Yes. Possibly. Online students are asking something. If we make a flow chart for anything, types like that of suicide, then do we have to define that type separately in that suicide question? Okay, so if you're, say, depicting the 4 types of suicide in a diagram, right, then should you also explain it in full sentences? The answer is preferably not. Preferably not. मतलब कि otherwise it tends to be unnecessary duplication, which we should try to avoid. अगर but वो depend करेगा question की demand क्या है. अगर question कह रहा है कि explain Durkheim's theory of suicide, then only presenting it diagrammatically will not look good. ठीक है? You can add a diagram just for looks kind of sake and then also explain it. But if the question is something like, is Durkheim's or use Durkheim's theory of suicide to explain whatever suicide trends in contemporary India, they're not asking you to explicitly explain Durkheim's theory, then you can just maybe draw a diagram. ठीक है? So इस तरह से I need your help. Tell me what help you need, beta. I mean, you'll have to specify that, Priya. Priya, please ask your question if you must. And Vasu, I have addressed your query. चलिए अब चलते हैं जीवन में आगे let's begin with the day's agenda now. Which is this. We are done with all the major units except for one complete unit and then some assorted portions. We've now reached the beginning of the end of paper 1. ठीक. What all topics are remaining in the paper 1 syllabus are as follows. In unit 2, sociology as science, major theoretical strands of research methodology is remaining. Unit 3, the whole of it is remaining, which is research. And in the first unit, the discipline of sociology, the scope of the subject, relationship between socio and common sense, relationship between sociology and other disciplines. These are pending. ठीक? So this is what all is remaining total in paper 1. Second unit sociology as science में major theoretical strands बचा है, which we hope to do today. Third unit, instead of writing these, you can simply mention the whole of it is remaining. And then first unit, if you must write, scope of sociology, sociology and common sense, sociology and other social sciences. Up to you. Some people choose to. In any case, I'll be going through all of them. Sorry? No, we are going to do it like before now and in the next few days. Yeah. Iron law of oligarchy, I'll touch somewhere. No, it's not here actually. It's a part of elite theory. Okay? Which we don't conventionally do because it's not asked. But now we will since it has been asked. So I'll take it up somewhere. एक रॉबर्ट मिशेल्स करके हैं, उनकी थ्योरी है, एलीट थ्योरिस्ट है, उनकी थ्योरी है. I'll take it up somewhere. चलिए, moving on to major theoretical strands of research methodology. Major theoretical strands of research methodology. A lot of what I'm going to say we have already covered. I'm just putting things in perspective. Okay? So without much elaboration. Wherever new things I'll be teaching, I will be elaborating. Major theoretical strands of research methodology. Now, to understand these major theoretical strands, okay, we need to appreciate, friends, that in sociology, there are two broad types of theories. Two types of theories are there. You have structural theories. And then you have social action theories. Two broad views of society, two broad types of theories are there. Structural and social action theories. Structural theories are what? Those theories which consider that society has a definitive structure. Structural theories consider that society has a definitive structure. Structural theories consider that the actions of the individual members are shaped by, determined by the social structure. According to structural theories, individual members of the society are somewhat controlled by, or their actions are determined by, the social structure. यानी अर्थात समाज की एक गिवन बनावट है और लोग उसके तहत, उसके हिसाब से, उसके अकॉर्डिंग कार्य करते हैं. ठीक है. Have we discussed any structural theory which functional theory? Functionalism is a structural theory. Why? Because according to them, there's a well-defined structure. Society comprises of family, religion, stratification system, education system, etc. Yes or no? And the actions of individuals are shaped by societal norms and values. Yes or no? So functional theory, functionalism is a structural view of society. Clear? Any other structural theory have we studied which considers that society has a well-defined structure and people's actions are controlled by or shaped by, greatly determined by the structural factors? Marxism. Marxism is another structural view of the society. ठीक? Now these structural theories, in terms of their research methodology, structural theories contend that how do you study society? What research methodology should be adopted? Scientific. Structural theories vouch for, advocate for the application of scientific research methodology. What do we call that? Application of scientific method. Positivism. So functionalism and Marxism, though vastly different theories, one sees cooperation, harmony, interdependence, the other sees conflict and exploitation, but both are structural theories. Both consider that society has a definitive structure and actions of the individual are controlled by, determined by, shaped by that structure. So both vouch for the application of the scientific method to study society. ठीक? Social action theories are those which consider that society does not have a fixed structure. According to social action theories, human behavior is not determined by the society. Human behavior is not determined by the society. Instead, social action shapes the society. Social action is far more important. And it is that which shapes the society. Are you with me? So these are two contrasting views. One gives importance to the society as a whole or the social structure and de-emphasizes the importance of social action. The other gives great importance to social action of individual actors and de-emphasizes the importance of or the existence of structure in society. ठीक? Have we discussed any social action approaches? Weberian, bilkul. So Weber is also Mead, G.H. Mead. These are what? These are social action approaches. So structural view of society is basically macro theories which vouch for the application of scientific method. Social action theories are micro theories which argue that the scientific method is not applicable or is not appropriate to study society. ठीक? In other words, they are what? Anti-positivist or interpretative. Social action approaches are anti-positivist या interpretative. Anti-positivist क्यों बोल रहे हैं? Because they contend that scientific method is not appropriate to study society. Interpretative क्यों बोल रहे हैं? Because according to social action theories, it is important to interpret the meanings and motives of the social actors. ठीक? These are micro theories which focus on interpreting the meanings and motives of the social actors. All of this, friends, we have discussed earlier. I'm just putting things in context. ठीक? Of course, the big daddy of anti-positivism is Weber. But just to be sure, I don't know if I've said it earlier, possibly I have, but I reiterate that Weber does not deny the utility of the scientific method in sociology entirely. Yes or no? He does not reject the scientific method altogether. But according to Weberian analysis, the scientific method by itself is not adequate to capture the whole of social reality. Specifically, it cannot capture the meanings and motives. So, the scientific method should be accompanied by other methods like use of ideal types, Verstehen. ठीक है? हाँ, ये सब हम पहले पढ़ चुके हैं. जो ऐसे मुस्कुरा रहे हो कि इतनी जल्दी बोल रहे हैं, बिकॉज हम पहले पढ़ चुके हैं. ठीक? And I repeat कि according to Weber, the scientific method alone is not adequate to capture the whole of social reality. Okay? So it needs to be supplemented by other methods like Verstehen या ideal type. ये हमने वेबर में भी लिखा होगा 99%. Should sociological research be objective according to Weber? Yes or no? It's not so easy. It's not an easy yes or no answer. We must strive for objectivity, knowing fully well that obtaining full objectivity is not possible. Specifically, the choice or the selection of the topic of research. There are multitude of phenomena out of those which I choose to study is dependent upon, is shaped by my background, my values. My matlab the researchers. In other words, the selection of the topic of research is value relevant. What Weber calls value relevant. Right? But once the topic has been selected, researcher must assiduously try to keep his value preferences, biases aside and ensure that the research is not contaminated by them. ठीक? तो वेबर इज बिटवीन पॉजिटिविज्म एंड एंटी पॉजिटिविज्म इन दैट सेंस. ठीक. अनलाइक क्या नाम है तुम्हारा, पॉजिटिविस्ट्स, और इन कॉन्ट्रास्ट टू पॉजिटिविस्ट, वेबर is of the considered view that the methods of the natural sciences cannot be, used as it is in sociological research. Positivists, they don't distinguish between methods of natural science and social sciences. Weber does. But he does not ask you to abandon or rubbish the scientific method, but to supplement it. Take. Then, of course, other anti-positivist theories are, which one? Apart from Weberian. हाँ, मीड का नाम क्या है उसकी थ्योरी का? Symbolic interactionism. Symbolic interactionism. And throw me names of some symbolic interactionists. G.H. Mead, Herbert, Bloomer, C.H. Cooley, and last but not the least, I'll introduce a new guy to you today. It is Erving Goffman, or his theory which is called dramaturgy. It has been asked this year, so हम पढ़ रहे हैं. ठीक है, वरना नहीं पढ़ते, बट अब पूछ लिया तो पढ़ेंगे. Erving Goffman's dramaturgy. He's also a symbolic interactionist. Dramaturgy. So now this is something new. अभी तक जो भी बोला सब पुराना था, अब हम नया शुरू कर रहे हैं, तो अब थोड़ा खुलासा करेंगे, थोड़ा डिटेल में समझेंगे. First I will explain, then I will dictate also. ठीक है? His theory is called dramaturgy. Meaning what? Basically, he compares social life to drama. ड्रामा यानी थिएटर. Whatever happens in the society, he compares it to what happens in a theatrical kind of a performance. ठीक? How many of you have participated in theater, plays, etc., school, college time? Raise your hands. Quite a few of us. The others have not, in any capacity. कि रामायण में बंदर ही बने हो अगर. Lot of people, you play the role of a guard of the king, if not the king. कुछ तो रोल करते हैं. पेड़ बने थे आप. ठीक है. So point is, friends, when you do drama, he compares social life to theater. In theater, what do? You play various roles. You have various actors who are playing roles. Similarly, in society, people play various roles. Society is like a stage. Society is literally like a stage. And people are playing different roles या characters on that stage. For example, presently I am playing the role of a teacher. Or in other words, I am in the character of a teacher. मैं टीचर का रोल अदा कर रहा हूं. It is a performance. It is akin to a theatrical performance. When you play a role in theater, then you must look the part. So say you are playing the role of a king. You will wear a crown. You'll have a sword in your hand. Yes or no? These are what? Various props that you use. You'll have appropriate costume befitting a king, or which conveys that you are a king. Yes or no? Similarly, in social life, if I am playing the role of a teacher, I must look the part. Yes or no? Only then I will be able to convey to my audience. You guys are who? Other people in the society. You are audience who is watching my performance. So if I want this performance to be successful, then I must convince you with my performance, with my look, with my props, that I am indeed a king, or in this case, I am a teacher. Are you with me? In other words, I dress up like a teacher while in the classroom. Yes or no? अगर मैं फुटबॉलर की ड्रेस पहन के आ जाऊं, पढ़ोगे मुझसे? नहीं पढ़ोगे. Yes or no? So, because I look like a teacher, my mannerisms are like a teacher, I speak like a teacher, I behave like a teacher, you guys are convinced by my performance. You guys take my performance seriously. कि हाँ, indeed he is a teacher. ठीक? Now, when people are performing this thing, roles, he compares it entirely to a theatrical performance. So, क्या कहते हैं? You have like props and costumes, which make you look the part and so on. So also in society. Then he talks about front stage and backstage. On the front stage, many of you have participated in dramas. On the front stage, what do? You play the part, you act, you perform that specific role. Likewise, friends, in social life, the front stage is when we are facing the audience. In other words, before my students, I must act like a teacher. I must act like a teacher. That is on the front stage. Why? Because when the actor is on the front stage, he is being watched continuously. He is being watched by the audience. And he is aware of it. He is aware of the fact that he is being continuously watched and evaluated. Are you with me? Similarly, when I am with my students, I am quite acutely aware that you are continuously evaluating me as a teacher. So I have to play act. I have to behave like a teacher. But what happens backstage? बैकस्टेज पे एक्टर्स का बताओ ना. थिएटर में बैकस्टेज में क्या करते हैं? बैकस्टेज में हम चिल करते हैं, हम रिलैक्स करते हैं. यस और नो? इन अदर वर्ड्स, वी स्टॉप प्लेइंग द पार्ट. बैकस्टेज में आप राजा बन के नहीं घूमोगे, है ना? आप मुकुट उतार के रख दोगे, आप रिलैक्स करोगे. Similarly, in life, we have a backstage. What is that backstage? When we are not performing these roles. For example, when we are alone. Or when we are with, people whom we are very close with. Are you with me? मैं पूरे टाइम क्या टीचर्स बना रहता हूं? नहीं. There comes a time when I take off the mask of the teacher which I am putting up before you guys. Are you with me? For this performance. And it's not just, this teacher is a slightly too fitting an example. But even in other social roles, अगर आप ऑफिस में काम कर रहे हो, क्या कर रहे हो आप? You are acting. You are giving a performance as an employee. Are you with me? That is your front stage, the office environment. वहां पे भी you have to look the part with the proper props. टाई पहन के जाओगे, जूते पॉलिश होंगे. These are your props, which suggest that you are a manager or whatever. Are you with me? In the फ्रंट स्टेज और दी ऑफिस, और घर जाते हो तो क्या करते हो? चल जूते फेंके, टाई फेंके, yes or no? During performances or when we are on the front stage, the actors, देखो, when you go for a performance, okay, in theater, do you go just like that? मुंह उठा के? नहीं. It requires what? A hell lot of preparation. दिनों तक, महीनों तक चलती है preparation for a theatrical performance. Likewise in life, in social life. क्या मैं मुंह उठा के आ जाता हूं पढ़ाने? नहीं. It requires years of preparation. क्या बोलते हैं हम उसको? हाँ, उस ट्रेनिंग को क्या बोलते हैं बिटिया? To play our various social roles. Socialization. Through socialization, we prepare over long periods of time to perform our various roles. मैं प्रिपेयर होके आया हूं, आप भी प्रिपेयर होके ऑफिस जाते हो. Yes or no? Now, when we are on the front stage, performing before the audience, audience मतलब other members of the society. पहली बात, is everything pre-planned? Or in other words, do things always happen as one has prepared for them or not? No. Whoever says yes has never been on stage, in theater. Point is, जरूरी नहीं है हमेशा कि जैसा आप सोच के आए हो वैसा होगा. In other words, during a theatrical performance, what do? You improvise. Improvise matlab, on the spot you take decisions to maybe a bit of a change in script or dialogue or something. समझ रहे हो? Similarly in social life. मैं पढ़ाने आया हूं तो क्या कुछ सोच के आया हूं वो बोल दूंगा और चल बनूंगा? नहीं. Depending on audience reaction, depending on audience feedback, depending on audience interaction, I will improvise. Yes or no? In other words, पहले से सब कुछ set या एकदम fixed, predetermined नहीं होता. Another thing, when you are on stage as an actor in theater, do you make mistakes? Like it or not, you do. For example, you might trip on the stage. You might spit, while delivering dialogues. What happens then? What happens then? Do your fellow actors, does the audience make fun of you? No. For the most part, they don't. They do what? Ignore. They ignore it. Yeah, they'll try to give you a moral booster. कोई बात नहीं, carry on, kind of a thing. तो उसका नजरअंदाज कर देंगे वो. इसी तरह होता है जीवन में. So while playing our various roles as employees and employers, as teachers, as civil servants, we are not perfect. We make mistakes. But people tend to ignore minor hiccups or minor, not following the script to the T. और क्या होता है? हाँ, एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज कि ड्यूरिंग आवर परफॉर्मेंसेस व्हाट डू वी ट्राई? इंप्रेशन मैनेजमेंट. इंप्रेशन मैनेजमेंट मतलब एज एन एक्टर इन थिएटर आई एम ट्राइंग टू कन्विंस यू दैट आई एम नॉट प्रणय, आई एम द किंग, और आई एम द सोल्जर, आई एम द फाइटर, एंड सो ऑन. And I am then trying to convey to you a consistent image. Are you with me? Of a brave warrior, say in a kingly battle in theatre. Similarly, in life, we are engaged in impression management. In other words, we are trying to convince our audience or other members of the society that we are of a particular type. We are of a particular type. Which means what? For impression management, you have to convey certain qualities that you possess to the audience. And also, equally importantly, you have to hide some qualities. For example, if, say, I smoke, तो क्या मैं अपने स्टूडेंट्स के सामने सुट्टा मारूंगा? नहीं मारूंगा. कहां मारूंगा? बैकस्टेज, when I'm chilling. Yes or no? ताकि आपको मैं कंसिस्टेंट इमेज दे सकूं. ठीक है? So this is all that we are doing on the stage of life. This is dramaturgy. ठीक? तो लिखो. Irving Goffman, in his book The Presentation of Self, लंबा नाम है, The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life. The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life, the book name ends here. Develops the dramaturgical approach to the analysis of society. ठीक है? Full stop. This approach is a type of interactionist theory which compares social life to a theatrical performance or drama. To a theatrical performance or drama. Full stop. Like actors in a play, people are performing various roles full stop. To perform a role, people must look the part by using appropriate costume and props during their role performance. Props, PROPS, during their role performance. Full stop. Next para. Just like actors undergo rigorous training and preparation to perform a role, comma, so do members of the society. Prepare extensively to perform their various roles. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट पैरा लिखिए, फ्रंट स्टेज. फ्रंट स्टेज actors perform in front of an audience full stop. While on the front stage, the actors are well aware that their performance is being watched and evaluated by the audience. Full stop. Similarly, in social life, we perform our roles in front of an audience. ब्रैकेट में लिखिए, other members of the society. Full stop. Just like actors on stage perform responding to audience reactions, comma, similarly, people in real life may modify their role performance depending on the reactions of the other members of the society. ठीक है, full stop. while performing our roles, ऐसे कर दो, while performing their roles, people engaged in impression management. I.e., that is, they wish to present themselves to others in a presentable manner. And develop a consistent image. Full stop. Consistent image मतलब अगर आपको ऑडियंस को कन्विंस करना है that you're a raja, then you're a brave raja, then you can't be seen, whimpering in a particular scene. You have to be brave throughout. Likewise in life. So for example, some teachers like to present themselves as very strict. Yes or no? Some like to present themselves as more friendly. Some as jovial. Some as very dignified. Some as very whatever, laid back. Are you with me? But that messaging has to be consistent. Huh? So एक consistent image हम cultivate करते हैं in society. Teacher क्या, कोई भी इंसान. Office में भी somebody will be an office clown. Somebody will be, very bossy. Somebody will be very reliable. Yes or no? Somebody will be consistently irresponsible. Huh? So we present a consistent image to others. Full stop. During impression management, people generally wish to avoid embarrassment. And hide certain qualities. ठीक है? Full stop. Next para. The backstage. Colon. In a play, the backstage is where the actors relax. Full stop. Similarly, in life, people unwind, be themselves, take off their masks and props. During moments of solitude, एकांत में, or while with their near and dear ones. ठीक है? तो ये है अर्विंग गॉफमैन की ड्रामाटर्जिकल अप्रोच टू एनालाइजिंग सोसाइटी. So when do you want your break, now or later? Now? ठीक है, so we take a short break, after which I'll be back on stage. अभी मैं जा रहा हूँ बैक स्टेज to unwind, है ना. Friends, please settle. Silence, please. Shall we continue with our performance? Guys, something just happened, so that brought my attention to another dimension which this theory also talks about. Are audience members permitted backstage in theatre? No. And sometimes if they do come, then what happens? What happens if a member of the audience comes backstage? The actors get very flustered. Yes or no? Because they are letting their hair down literally. Likewise, I was backstage just now in my cabin. That's my backstage, where I'm letting my hair down. Matlab, not literally, figuratively, right? And one of these students, she came, So I also got flustered because I had not put on my mask. Chaliye. Moving on to, now we have discussed Weber under anti-positivist theories, Weber and symbolic interactionism. Then there are two more theories belonging to the anti-positivist or interpretative tradition, namely phenomenology and ethnomethodology. Phenomenology and ethnomethodology. The two are sisters in a way. Anti-positivist theories, micro-theories, anti-positivist theories, interpretative theories, social action approaches, jo keh lo. Now, phenomenology, friends, it's a philosophy. Okay? It's very abstract. Treat it as such. Be prepared for something philosophical and abstract. And what it says, काफी दिमाग खराब करने वाली theory है actually. What it says that there is no objective social reality. I'll dictate also separately. First, try to appreciate. There is no objective social reality. Yeah, लिखवाऊंगा पक्का से. And so whatever reality we see around us, it is perceived reality. It is a perceived reality. In other words, there is no fixed, given, objective social reality out there which exists. Whatever reality we see, it exists in our minds. It exists in our minds. In other words, we construct our reality. We make our own reality. So, the application of the scientific method to study society is out of the question. Positivists begin with the premise that you have an objective reality which can be captured empirically. Yes or no? Phenomenologists and ethnomethodologists, or phenomenology to begin with, considers that there is no objective reality. All reality is perceived reality. All reality is, see, simply what is real? That which we consider to be real is real. हमारा सच क्या है? जो हम सच मान लें वो हमारा सच है. कोई परम सत्य तो है ही नहीं. So things seem to be real. They are not real, they seem to be real because we perceive them to be real. Things are not in any given way. They only appear to us to be in a certain way. For example, a crude example to begin with. What is the color of the leaves of the tree? What is the color of the leaves of the tree? Is it green? Or do they appear green to us? क्या वो हरे हैं या वो हमें हरे दिखते हैं? They appear green to us. Meaning what? It is our perception. If a bat sees that same leaves, he will see them of a different color. Or if a cat sees them. Yes or no? They appear green to us because of the cones, etc. in our eyes. And our electromagnetic spectrum vectrum. Yes or no? तो जो हमारी रियलिटी, हमारा परसेप्शन है कि पेड़ के पत्ते हरे हैं, पर वो हरे नहीं है. इसी तरह whatever we see, whatever we consider real is our interpretation, our understanding, our perception of that phenomena. Now, see, in the world, how do we make sense of the world? We make sense of the world through our senses. That is why they are called senses. They help us to make sense of the world. In other words, we make sense of the world through sight, smell, touch, etc. Sight being the most popularly relied upon sense. Yes or no? Now, when we see things, there is a hell lot of diversity in the world. There is a hell lot of diversity in the world. So it is very difficult to make sense of these diverse phenomena. So we construct a reality which is not objective. जैसे कि आपने पेड़ के पत्ते देखे, अब मान लीजिए किसी और इंसान की बात करें. Say, if you have to describe me to a person, what will you say? Who am I? I am a teacher. Now, is that an objective truth? Is that a param satya that I am a teacher? No. That is your perception of me. You see me as a teacher. The grocer, he does not see me as a teacher. My daughter, she does not see me as a teacher. तो ये आपके दिमाग का वहम है कि मैं टीचर हूं. यह कोई परम सत्य नहीं है. So there is no objective reality. But mind you, it is not completely arbitrary also. In other words, it is not that, or there is a very good number of people who see me as a teacher. Yes or no? ये तो है नहीं कि आप मुझे टीचर देखते हो, आप मुझे दूध वाला देखते हो, आप मेरे को अकाउंटेंट देखते हो. Many students see me as a teacher. But still, this is not an objective fact. There are no objective facts. This is an intersubjective reality. Intersubjective reality मतलब है subjective. But when a good number of people agree upon that subjective perception. Are you with me? So this is an intersubjective reality that I'm a teacher. For example, क्या नाम है तुम्हारा? If I were to make a statement that Katrina Kaif is beautiful, do you agree? Do you agree? Do you agree? Do you agree? Many boys here will agree with the statement that Katrina Kaif is, but is it an objective truth that she is beautiful? No, it's not an objective truth. Beauty by definition is subjective. Or what we say, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. So ये कोई परम सत्य set in stone तो नहीं है कि Katrina Kaif is beautiful. But you have a good number of boys agreeing upon this subjective perception that she is indeed quite beautiful. This is an intersubjective reality. जिस तरह से कई लड़के कटरीना कैफ को खूबसूरत मानते हैं, उसी तरह से कई बच्चे मुझे टीचर मानते हैं. It is an intersubjective reality. Now please appreciate, friends, the number of phenomena in this world, the diversity of phenomena is simply mind-boggling. It's simply mind-boggling. For example, when you see, you open your eyes and you see all kinds of things and objects. You see this. You see that, which is different. You see this. You see these hundreds of faces. Each is different from the other. Each phenomena. You are different from him, who is different from her, and we all are different. We are different in terms of our height, our weight, our looks, intelligence, so many things. So this diversity is mind-boggling. So how do we make sense of it? We use typification. Typification meaning we classify phenomena or things. It helps us make sense of the world. So one way, when we are bombarded with these sights and smells, etc., one way we classify is as living and non-living things. So we decide what? That desk and floor, stage, fan, these are non-living. Human beings, animals, plants, birds, these are living. Living, then you may further classify as, say, human and non-human. Yes or no? Humans you may further classify as male and female. So when you classify, it helps us to process this diversity, make sense of this diversity. Are you with me? So when I visually look at the class, I classify him as male, him as male, her as female, her as female. And then I deal with them accordingly. We all do that. We classify persons as male or female, for instance, and so many other ways. So these are typifications which help us make sense of this complex and diverse reality, or phenomena that we see around us. They are not real. They are not real. ठीक है? तो ये बावली थ्योरी है phenomenology. Ethnomethodology we will come to in just a bit. First you digest this. लिखो. Phenomenology. Dash. Phenomenology is a European philosophy that was developed by Husserl. And further elaborated by Alfred Scudds. Alfred Scudds. Full stop. Phenomenology considers that people experience the world around them through their senses. ठीक है? Such as sight, touch, smell. Etc. लिख लो, ये 5 ही तो होते हैं, बाकी 2 लिख लो. Hearing, taste, है ना? Full stop. Our senses are bombarded by a huge variety of phenomena. Full stop. To make sense of these phenomena, we classify them into categories. We classify them into categories. Full stop. For example, things may be classified as living and non-living. Living beings may be further classified as कुछ भी बना लो, mammals, non-mammals या human and non-human, and so on and so forth. Full stop. Such classification helps us to make sense of the world around us. Of the world around us. Full stop. Next para. Social reality is not fixed or objective. Full stop. Instead, things only appear to be real. Things only appear to be real. Full stop. People construct their own social reality. People construct their own social reality. Full stop. The classification of phenomena is not objective. Is not objective. Dash. It is not true or false, comma, it simply is. It simply is. मतलब कि it's simply friends, it's an outcome of the human mind. उसमें गलत सही थोड़ी ना है. So for example, whom we today call male, if we start calling them female, उसमें कुछ गलत सही नहीं है. It is somewhat of an arbitrary mental construct. Are you with me? तो हम मेल है नहीं, हम मेल माने जाते हैं हम ही द्वारा. ठीक है, तो हम लोगों ने सोच लिया कि हम मेल हैं और वो फीमेल है. अदरवाइज आप और मैं बहुत अलग हैं. यस और नो? ये बकवास है ये थ्योरी. देखिए क्या लिखा है बेटा लास्ट सेंटेंस. बिटिया बिटिया. It simply is. Full stop. According to phenomenologists, the social world is thus a product of the human mind. Full stop. Scudds, Alfred Scudds, suggests that we मतलब people develop typifications, i.e., that is, concepts which explain phenomena of a similar type, phenomena of a similar kind. For example, teacher, watchman, dog, ट्री, कुछ भी. ये सब क्या है? टाइपिफिकेशंस हैं, कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं. See, dogs are of different variety. Yes or no? It may be black or it may be white, it may be brown, it may be golden. They will weigh different kg. Yes or no? They some will be ferocious, some will be cute, some will be angry, some will be whatever. Different उनकी प्रवृत्ति होगी, different रंग होगा, रूप होगा, हाँ, whatever. So, but point is, we have decided to call all these objects, all these phenomena as dog. तो डॉग क्या है? हम लोगों ने आपस में बना लिया कि जो भी बाक करती है ना, थोड़ी फरी सी होती है एंड ऑल, वी विल कॉल इट डॉग. तो ये टाइपिफिकेशन है, कॉन्सेप्ट है. वो डॉग है नहीं. हमने मान लिया कि वो. एंड व्हाई दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एक्चुअली. देखो, ये जो टाइपिफिकेशंस है, कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं, ये नेक्स्ट जनरेशन भी सीखती है. कैसे? सोशलाइजेशन से. और ये बहुत जरूरी है. कैसे सीखती है पहले ये बताओ, लिखवा दूंगा सब कुछ. थ्रू लैंग्वेज. लैंग्वेज बेसिकली, लैंग्वेज, व्हाट डू यू से, लैंग्वेज काइंड ऑफ equips us with these concepts or mental constructs या typifications. तो हमारी लैंग्वेज में डॉग के लिए एक शब्द है which is dog. So we are able to understand all these different phenomena by a single term. All these phenomena which are very different but which possess some common characteristics. We call them dog. Are you with me? And this, when we do this, it helps us what? It helps us in our daily life. So for example, I can tell you that if you go outside, you will find a dog. That white thing which has a tail, it's called dog. So then you know कि we have to make sure that the dog, that thing, that phenomena, that entity called dog does not bite. So it can be dangerous, it can be lethal if you get bitten by a dog. ठीक है? तो लिखो. Last sentence. ठीक है. Full stop. These typifications are not unique to every person. But are shared by the members of the society. And thank God for that. Right? These typifications are not unique to every person, they are shared by members of a society. So what I mean by dog, you also understand the same thing, the same class of phenomena to be dog. Children, full stop डाल के children, also learn these typifications through language. Full stop. These typifications help people to communicate with each other, and develop a shared understanding of the world. Full stop. This shared understanding is essential to accomplish everyday tasks. Full stop. Next para. According to phenomenologists, our shared understanding of reality, is not an objective reality. Full stop. It is a shared illusion of reality. ठीक है? वो कुत्ता है नहीं, हम सबने मान लिया कि वो कुत्ता है. तो ये है फिनोमिनोलॉजी. नहीं. Moving on to now understanding ethnomethodology. Ethnomethodology, friends, is, should I say, अभी उसके लिए भी I'll dictate briefly. Ethnomethodology is a derivative of phenomenology. In other words, ethnomethodologists are also phenomenologists. अर्थात they accept the premise of phenomenology. They are also phenomenologists, so ethnomethodologists also agree that there is no objective social reality. It is all perceived, constructed reality. Ethnomethodologists then go beyond this. They investigate or they try to figure out that what is the role of the sociologist, or how does he investigate social reality, given that there does not exist an objective social reality out there. तो एज अ सोशियोलॉजिस्ट मैं क्या करूं? क्या मैं जॉब छोड़ दूं? बताइए मैं क्या करूं? एथनोमेथोडोलॉजी क्या मतलब हुआ इस शब्द का? लिटरल मीनिंग हुआ द वर्ड लिटरली मीन्स एथनोस प्लस मेथड प्लस लॉजी. इसका संधि विच्छेद करें तो ethnos word means what? Have you heard it in any other context? Where? Ethnocentric, ethnicity, ethnic group. Ethnos words means people, a group of people. So what the word logy means? Study of. Method means method. So ethnomethodology literally means study of the methods used by the people. Con people, not sociologists, common people. So what should sociologists do? They should study the methods used by ordinary people to construct their social reality. To construct their social reality. So as sociologists, हमारी जिम्मेवारी क्या है? That we should try to appreciate how people construct this shared illusion or this social reality which they come to believe in. ठीक? How do people construct their social reality? How? वो कुत्ता क्यों है? We use common sense. बहुत काम की चीज होती है जीवन में कॉमन सेंस. सो आई क्लासिफाई यू एज मेल. क्यों? कॉमन सेंस. दैट इफ somebody has facial hair, a thick voice, certain anatomical features, then that person is male. Yes or no? So इसके लिए हम कॉमन सेंस का उपयोग करते हैं. Then there are two things we मतलब ordinary people use to make sense of the world. One is, ये तो नाम है लड़के का, he is the culprit responsible for developing ethnomethodology, Harold Garfinkel. Two concepts we use. One is indexicality. Indexicality क्या नहीं है? अच्छा तो बताओ ना. Indexicality. Indexicality meaning क्या होता है? The root is, word here is index. What is an index? Have you seen, where do you see an index? Books. What utilities of the index? नहीं, टेबल ऑफ कंटेंट अलग होती है, इंडेक्स एक पीछे अलग होता है रेफर करने के लिए. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, डू यू गाइज हैव दैट थिक बुक हरलम्बोस? So if you have to understand from that Harlambos and Holborn concept called anomy, where will you find it? You go to the index in the last few pages. You go alphabetically, you find A में anomy. Anomy के आगे लिखा होगा that it is mentioned on page number 215, 318, 319. Hypothetical, of course. Then what will you do? You will go to those respective page numbers and then read what? Just the word anomy? No. You will read uske aage piche. In other words, you will try to make sense of anomy by reading it in a certain context. In a certain context. Are you with me? Then you will go to page number 315, 316. There also you will read anomy, the mention of the word in a certain context, and accordingly you will derive some meaning out of it. That's how we use an index. Similarly, in life, people, in order to make sense of anything, we do so in a context. Simply, things make sense only given a certain context. You cannot make sense of things in isolation or standalone. For example, a very simple sentence. Say, you are looking very nice. On the face of it, it's a very straightforward, simple, easy to interpret kind of a communication. कि आप अच्छे दिख रहे हैं. But what it really means, what meaning you as a listener derive from it, will depend on the context. For example, if these words, that you're looking very nice, are spoken by some person you know has a crush on you, then you will derive a certain meaning from it. I must be looking nice. That person has mustered the courage to compliment me. Or if the same words are spoken by another person who has been bullying you for the last 3 years, what meaning will you derive then? That possibly I'm not looking good. Yes or no? Exactly the opposite. Possibly he or she is pulling my leg. अच्छा नहीं लिख रहा हूँगा या लग रही होंगी इसलिए उसने मुझे ऐसा बोला कि अच्छे लग रहे हो. मैं मजाक उड़ाया जा रहा है. The same words would mean different, so it depends on the context. Say, it will mean different if spoken by a parent or an elder in the family. To say, if the same words are spoken by somebody of the same age of the opposite gender. Yes or no? So, meaning, friends, is derived based on context. So, हम भी किसी चीज का meaning कैसे derive करते हैं? Based on context. ठीक? पहली बात. And before we come to the second, right. Ethnomethodology. Ethnomethodology was developed in 1960s by Harold Garfinkel. By using the phenomenological approach, by using phenomenological ideas in sociology. Full stop. Following Scuds, Alfred Scuds, ethnomethodologists consider that there is no objective social reality. Full stop. The social reality is constructed by the members of the society. Full stop. It is a convenient fiction. It's a convenient fiction that people develop Full stop. So, comma, the task of sociology is to study, the task of sociologists is to study the methods used by the people. The methods used by the people to construct their social reality. Full stop. Next para. People construct their social reality by using common sense, everyday experiences, and practical reasoning. Full stop. So, sociologists should investigate people's commonsensical understanding of the social world and how people accomplish ordinary tasks in their everyday lives. In their everyday lives. Full stop. Next para. People Kato. Ethnomethodologists consider that people use, I repeat, ethnomethodologists consider that people use two important techniques to make sense of their social world. One, indexicality. First is indexicality. Dash. Indexicality means that things make sense only in a particular context. Only in a particular context. Full stop. So, people interpret the meaning of anything in a certain context. In a certain context. Second thing is reflexivity. Second technique is reflexivity. First I'll explain, then I will dictate. Reflexivity की क्या बात करते हैं ये? Basically, it keeps on getting crazier actually, this theory. What they say, there is no order in society. Okay? There is nothing fixed. Things don't have any params, there is no param satya or any objective meaning. But we, matlab people, members of the society, seek meaning. We seek order where none actually exists. So, we create order. We create order. How we create it? Say, during our everyday conversations. We create order, we create meaning. For example, if two persons are talking, we talk every day, we talk to other people, other members of the society. So these two persons are talking. Say, so he says something. Now he will do what? He will make sense of what he has said. And based on that, based on his understanding, he will say something, he will respond. Then he will do what? He will make sense of what he has said. And then he will respond accordingly. So while seeking some sense in what he has said, you have made sense of what he has said. This guy, Garfinkel, he conducted an experiment. Okay, very wonderful. Did I mention his experiment on counseling? Yes or no? No. So he conducted an experiment on students, college students. They were told that you will be given counseling. So by a professional psychologist, counselor, you guys will be given counseling. The students were not told that it is research or experiment being carried out. Okay, they were told that you will be counseled. You can ask questions to the counselor. It will be telephonic counseling, not face-to-face. Okay, and the only condition is that the counselor will give responses in yes or no. Not like sentence type responses, no other things. He will only give, respond to your questions in yes or no. You ask him anything with yes or no answers whichever are possible, and he will respond. So a large number of students got this counseling from the counselor. Now, what the students were not told is that the counselor, the person giving the responses, it was not a human being. It was a machine which was pre-fed with predetermined sequence of yes or no random answers. Yes, no, yes, no, yes. After first question, second question, essay. Now, after students got these sessions of counseling, many students found these counseling sessions very helpful. Meaning what? That the answers did not really make sense. But because students wanted them to make sense, they found sense in those arbitrarily given answers. Are you with me? So we seek meaning, we seek order, so we create it. So कोई student पूछेगा कि say you are having relationship troubles, कि should I break off with my girlfriend? Yes. But won't I get very emotionally hurt? No. Okay. या वो कह सकता है yes. That also makes equal sense. So people or the students read sense because they wanted those answers to make sense. That is how we create order. Why is it called reflexivity? Because we reflect upon, we continuously reflect upon what others are saying and then try to read meaning into that conversation. ठीक है? So this is reflexivity. आई समझ? Yes or no? Yes. This is reflexivity. समझ नहीं आई, but you're like कुछ तो, you're trying to make sense. है ना? कुछ तो बताया है लंबा सा, 2-4 मिनट का. He must be making some sense. You are seeking meaning and order. Where none exists. लिखो. Reflexivity. Dash. Reflexivity means that people seek and create order in conversations. Full stop. social order doesn't really exist. Full stop. But people want things to make sense. People want things to make sense. Full stop. So, they seek meaning and order. Comma, thereby creating it. Thereby creating it in conversation. In conversation. Okay? This is ethno-methodology. And, guys, quickly. And, so please appreciate both phenomenology and ethno-methodology are anti-positivist, clearly. Positivists assume the existence of an objective, fixed, empirical reality out there, which can be captured using the scientific method. These guys, ethnomethodologists and phenomenologists, deny the existence of any fixed, objective reality. Therefore, the scientific method, according to them, is not applicable. Clear? Regarding this distinction between positivism, the positivist method, and the ethno-methodological phenomenological approach, a quick example, the study of suicide. We have already discussed a study of suicide using the scientific method, which is Durkheim's. So Durkheim considered, he basically collected empirical data about suicide rates in different societies, processed it, classified it, and then came out with his whole analysis. Right? Suicide was also studied from a very different, in a very different light, using a very different approach, which is the phenomenological and ethno-methodological approach by Atkinson. By Atkinson. So Atkinson's phenomenological and ethno-methodological study of suicide stands in stark contrast to Durkheim's positivist study of suicide. Have we discussed Atkinson also? Maybe as a criticism of Durkheim? Did we or did we not? Did we or not? Quickly. I hear more no's. So let me quickly recap. So, Durkheim assumed the suicide statistics to represent objective reality. These are facts. But from an ethno-methodological perspective, you tell me, what is suicide? Is it a given? Is it an objective fact? No. It is a constructed social reality. In other words, members of the society classify some deaths as suicide and other deaths as non-suicide. So what should the sociologist do? He should study the methods used by the people. Sociologists should study the methods used by the people to classify some deaths as suicide and others as non-suicide. I repeat, from an ethno-methodological perspective, suicide is not an objective reality. It is a constructed reality, constructed by the members of the society. So, the job of the sociologist is to explore the methods used by the people to construct the reality of suicide or to classify some deaths as suicide. How do people classify some deaths as suicide? How? Kya own action vaction? By common sense. Common sense. So members of the society have some commonsensical theory of suicide in their minds. Members of the society have including those involved in this process, such as police officers, medical officers, etc., family members, all of them are involved in this process and they have some common sense theory of suicide. For example, if there are two deaths, one of them before death, one of those was happy, the other guy was depressed. Which of those two deaths you are more likely to classify as suicide? Depressed guy. Why? Because it is our common sense understanding. Yes or no? That it is depressed people who commit suicide, not happy people. If one guy is found dead hanging from the ceiling fan, the other is found dead with a gunshot wound to his temple, which of those deaths you will more likely classify as suicide? Hanging. Arey beta, our common sense theory of suicide is that, people generally won't take their own lives using such a gruesome kind of a painful kind of a method. हाँ, तो hanging वाली पिक्चरों में भी हमने यही देखा है कि लोग लटक के मरते हैं या जहर खा के मरते हैं. ठीक है? If one guy is found dead in his room, his home, locked from inside, another is found dead on the roads, which of them you are more likely to classify as suicide? Home wali. Kyun? Road wali is more likely to be regarded as an accident. If one person who dies is 80 years old, another found dead is 30 years old, which will you more likely classify as suicide? 30 years. कि 80 वाले की natural death हुई है. Yes or no? But 30 वाला कैसे मर गया? Must be suicide. So point is, we have this commonsensical understanding, theory, notion of suicide. So do policemen. So do doctors. So do so and so and so. ठीक है? But is it given? Is it a given? Is it fixed कि जो भी घर के अंदर होंगी सारी suicide मानी जाएंगी? नहीं. It is a matter of negotiations. So there will be give and take, exchange of views, exchange of perspectives amongst the various social actors involved, and then some deaths will be classified as suicide and others as non-suicide. किसने बताया? Atkinson ने. So this is a classic study from a phenomenological and ethnomethodological perspective, which is in stark contrast to the scientific study of the same phenomena. ठीक? बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. क्या कह रहे हैं?